Okay, podcast number 36 with Ognjen topic. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, Alex? I'm good.
Everything is fine here. Now, you made a decision that a lot of people want to make, but for a lot of people it's hard as well. You decided to come out to Thailand and actually do the 2 weeks of required quarantine. Like, what was the idea behind you coming back?
Well, I wanted to come back as soon as possible. Before I left in April, when I had to leave Thailand, I told my coaches that I'll be back in June,
Okay.
and because I didn't think this pandemic was gonna last this long, I thought it was gonna be quick. But so I was planning to come back after a couple of months after everything was done. But obviously it continued to. It was gaining momentum and things were
Mm,
still bad. So I had to just wait for the right moment when Thailand began opening up its borders and they were letting in um, tourists come back. So, and this is that time. It was like November, December when they started opening things up. And it was good for me because I was able to save money and make money while I was in America. So I had no choice. I had to come back in April. For that reason, I wasn't going to stay in Thailand because there was nothing to do. I wasn't going to make
mm.
as much money as I can when I'm back home. So now the opportunity came about that I was able to come back, and that's it. I made the choice.
Okay. So your stay now will be an extended stay?
Yeah, it's gonna be minimum 6 months, but it's most likely gonna be much longer than that.
Okay. So of course you have the 2 weeks quarantine, which scares a lot of people. Did you take like any preparation in regards to that? Because for me personally, like I would look up to that because like sitting inside for 2 weeks sounds horrible.
No, there was no preparation. It's just something that I have to go through. I mean, that's not for me. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
You always have to when things like this happen. I think you just have to resort to looking at the end goal. And what's the end goal? The end goal is what I want to achieve in the sport, and that's it. Nothing else matters. Nothing else is gonna get in my way. And I've done this many times in my career. I always bring up the point where my parents didn't want to let me do the sport, and I had to sit them both down, and I told them, "You're either gonna choose to be okay with this. I don't need you to support me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need anybody's support. It's just what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to lie to you anymore and go behind your back and do this and fight behind your back. And I have to think about another thing where how am I supposed to hide this next fight?" So it was either you're gonna support me in that way, and you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be okay with it. This is the last day that you're gonna see me, and for
Yeah.
me, I always go back to that because that was the most difficult choice for me to make because I love my parents. My parents did everything to give me and my sister a better life. Obviously, bringing us to another country from a war torn country. So if I can do that, what else is gonna be able to stand in my way? Nothing. 2-week quarantine is bullshit for me.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you mentioned that because the story you told that to me on the first time we had a podcast. And
Hmm.
so that was close to when I was supposed to leave Thailand. And my parents don't like the sport either. And I was thinking about what you said, and I told my mom, like, I want to do this. Like, I want to go. I want to have a go at this because I still have time to do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I come home, you have to respect my choice. And my mom ignored the message. Like, I don't know if she did it on purpose, but she ignored me for 3 days. And in those 3 days, I decided, like, no, I'm staying.
Yeah. Good for you,
You know?
man.
Yeah. It's like
And are you
definitely an.
guys? Are
Sorry.
you okay with your mom now?
Yeah, 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 we're okay. Like she's happy that I have a job here and that I
Yeah.
have a
Good.
girlfriend now. But in the beginning there was some friction, but I think I
Yeah.
think they're starting to live with the idea.
And what about your father?
Ah, that's different. I'm not that close with my father. So my father is kind of like the absent father. I think
Yeah.
that's the perfect way to describe it. Like we can have a conversation, but when we have a conversation, my mom will always be around. Like otherwise, he will be like reading books or doing
Hmm.
something else. Yeah. But I mean, as far as a father figure, I would say my grandfather was more like a father figure for me when I was younger.
Yeah,
Yeah. Doesn't always have to be the parents, I think. And
I agree.
yeah, he doesn't. How do I put this? He respects the choice, and he starts to understand the sport, but he's not the biggest fan of it. If you
Mhm.
understand what I mean.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. Um, Now obviously you're gonna have. I don't think you will be able to train during these 2 weeks.
Yeah, probably not, but they actually left dumbbells here and kettlebell, so that's
Okay.
kind of nice. So I'll probably be trained just just a little bit, just to break a sweat, so I'm not constantly sitting around. But I'm gonna be on a schedule where I'm stretching a lot. So I'm gonna take these 2 weeks and just work on trying to loosen up my body more and just keep it ready.
Do you have any plan for once the quarantine is over in regards of training? Because obviously, like Muay Thai training is like high volume.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I'm done here, I'm just gonna go to PK Saenchai gym, and I'm just gonna start, training as I normally do. Obviously, I'm gonna take my time. I'm not gonna rush into hard training,
Mm.
and the coaches already know that. They already know if you're out of training for a week or 2 weeks, then you start back up little by little. Do a couple of rounds here and there, a little bit of running, hit the bag, and that's it.
Mm. But you don't speak Thai, right?
A little bit.
A little bit. So
Yeah.
it's kind of something that you you the coaches know because they know you very well from being there for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
your main pad man is Wang, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a monster. He's a monster.
Yeah. Yeah. He is something else.
Yeah, he's like this big teddy bear. That's the way I can describe him. He's very nice, but when you hit pads with him, he kills you.
Yeah, and that's what it takes. You have to. You have to be mean like that.
This brings me to something that I realized recently. Recently, I went back to Kopangan to train with one of my old trainers, and I talked about the experience at PK, and it was like, congratulations, you're finally like at a real fight gym and not a tourist gym.
Yeah.
And so he asked me how the trainers were treating me, and I was like, well, obviously they go hard on me, but now I understand why they do it. It's because they care. They want me to fight, but they also want me to be in the perfect conditioning.
Right.
Do you think that some foreigners, well, especially people from like the West, tend to take this personal? I've I've kind of like seen people complain about how Thai holders treat them, if you want to put it like that.
I've never heard somebody complain to me about it. Um, I don't know. I haven't heard any foreigners tell me like, they complain. Like maybe they say like, oh, this trainer is not like, I feel like he doesn't care to show me
Mm-hmm.
like techniques and stuff like that. But I think you have to understand that uh, for them, they feel like, and this is just my opinion, they probably are just used to everybody having a certain level of technique.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, for pads is, yeah, they're still gonna show you things, but not like extremely to a detailed point. And pad work for me is just developing power and getting you ready for the actual match. And yeah, I mean, there's times that you do need technical advice, but I think that's something for another time, and maybe even when you're sparring.
Okay. In regards of sparring, what is your opinion about people say that you can't be too competitive or want it too much when you spar?
Yeah, I hear this often that sparring is, it's like shouldn't be taken too seriously, but I think that it should be taken seriously, because that's as close as you're gonna get to the actual fight. Not when you're doing pads, not when you're hitting bag, not when you're shadow boxing. Sparring is as close as possible to the real fight.
Hmm.
And so I'm not saying you should go 100%, with power and stuff like that, but you should be always competitive. And I'm always competitive when I'm fighting. And I'm competitive to the point where, I get angry at myself if somebody scores a couple more points than I'm able to score on the on my opponent. I'm always trying to beat every single person that I'm sparring with. I don't care what level you are. I'm competitive to the point where I compete even with my nieces. And then, when they start crying, then I realize, what am I doing? You're competing with like 3 and 4 year olds, but this is the
Yeah.
mentality you have to have. And so you should always be trying to outpoint your partner and trying to beat them at the game. Um, of course, you're gonna go into the gym. Sometimes you're tired. You're not feeling like like you feel like doing the work, but it's okay. At least you're at the gym, and maybe you don't feel competitive enough to spar that day and beat your partner. But
Hmm.
for the most part, if you end up losing and you don't go to your room and you're not pissed off with yourself, then I think you're doing something wrong. You should be competitive, and this is what this job is about. It's there's no other way, and so it doesn't matter if it's a real fight or just sparring. You have to have that competitive edge to you at all times.
Do you think that's kind of a Thai mentality as well? Because I've noticed that when you spar with the Thais, I mean, they don't spar hard, but they're actually pretty competitive. Like I like it how the way they spar and clinch. Like
Yeah.
they don't really care if you're a beginner. They will give you work.
Right. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You don't have to go at 100%
Hmm.
with power, but like I said, you should be sparring to win every match. Like I said, sometimes you're gonna be tired, you don't feel like doing it, but for the most part, you should be sparring to win the match every round.
Hmm. Yeah, that's how I spar with Arachai. Like because I'm at his gym right now.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and people think it's weird, but I think it's like it's the right mentality to have because, I mean, of course he goes easier on me, but he still tries to win too, and he does it,
Right.
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something you can erase. If you're a competitive person, since you're a child, then that's gonna stay with you with whatever you do. So yeah, I think it's a mentality that you can start working. Maybe if you're not a competitive person by nature, and you do want to do this, then I think it's something that you have to just consciously work at. And when you
Hmm.
go to the gym and when you spar, you have to tell yourself, okay, this round I'm gonna do this to outpoint my partner. Next round you do something else, and you're just trying to constantly train that mentality.
Hmm. So you never do the sparring rounds where, for example, one person only works on offense and one person works on defense. Would you
Yeah,
consider that more, or would you
no,
consider that
I do
more?
that as well. I do
Okay.
that as well. I think that's a good aspect of training too. But that to me is more like drills. It's not really
Yeah.
like a live sparring.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. So how do you blend in your technique then? Because um, when people, well, some people when they wanna spar like the Thais, they don't get that competitive, and they want to work more on technique. So where do you get your technical work done?
Well, I don't really understand that. What do you mean by I mean, for me, it's you have to be doing it. If I'm sparring and then I say to myself, well, I don't want to be technical because I have to work on my technique, or I mean, I don't want to be competitive because I have to work on my technique. That doesn't make sense to me. You have to
Hmm.
do it at the highest level possible. So if I'm sparring to be competitive, I also have to make sure my technique is correct, because that's exactly what I'm going to be taking with me when I fight.
Hmm.
So yeah, to me, those things go hand in hand. They're
Hand
both
in hand.
together. Yeah.
Now you obviously had a long layoff from fighting.
Mhm.
Does it make a difference for you, like having a long layoff mentally, in comparison to having like fights every month?
I think if you let it get to you mentally, then 100% it will. But I'm not gonna let it get to that point. For me, I'm controlling everything that I think about, and
Mhm.
so when it comes time to fight, it's gonna be for me just like another fight. Will I feel a little different? I don't know. Maybe this is the longest layover I've ever had, but it's not gonna affect my performance. And win or lose, it's not gonna have any effect on me. I'm not gonna allow that.
Mm. Do you put any pressure on yourself before fights?
Yeah, I put pressure on myself for everything I do, and I think whoever wants to work and be at their best at whatever they do, it doesn't necessarily mean just fighting. I think that people have to put pressure on themselves. Anytime I've fought and done the best that I've done in a fight, it was because I had massive amount of pressure, and it was my pressure, not outside pressure. Outside pressure shouldn't matter to you.
Mhm.
If people start like telling you certain things about the fighter or you, that shouldn't bother you. It's all about what you think and what you believe in, and
Mhm.
so putting self pressure on is gonna massively improve your performance. And like I said, not just in fighting, but anything in life that you do. So I love fighting with pressure, and especially that sense of fear, because those things always bring out the best of me as a fighter. And not only that, but when your back is up against that wall and you have all that pressure on you and you have nowhere else to go besides just fight through, then like I said, that's when you're going to be performing at your highest level.
That's kind of the burning the ships mentality in a way.
What's that?
Burning the ships. It's like from the art of war, where like an army they went to war and they came with ships and the commander burned all the ships and it was like, well, we either win or we die, and they
Oh
won the
wow.
battle and they were like outnumbered.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's it right there. When you give yourself no other choice besides just fight and go forward, I mean, there's no there's it's you're either gonna survive or you're gonna die, and not necessarily speaking that you're gonna die in a fight, but I'm saying like let's say if you don't perform well, well then you just learn something about yourself, and you learn maybe this isn't for me, or you learn okay this isn't how I wanted to perform. Let me go back to the gym. Let me work on some other things, and then I'll perform better in the next time. So you're always gonna be able to learn something. And by the way, this is the way that you get around fear as well. People are always asking me how can I get around the fact that there's like fear and stuff. Well, guess what? Fear is always going to be prevalent, and it's never going to go away. It doesn't matter what level you are in your career. There's always going to be fear, but the only way you can fight against fear is by actually going into that situation with fear and then learning to control it. Whatever I tell you now, when you're relaxed and in your room and just hanging out, it's yeah. I mean, it's got maybe it'll make sense, but it's never gonna work for you until you actually put yourself in that situation and just tell yourself, "I got to deal with this." That's it.
Hmm. So obviously, when you watch your fights, you can see that mentality of you going for the win and putting yourself in that spot. But how do you put pressure on yourself before the fight?
Um, well, it's just about winning and performing well. So I'm putting my pressure on myself because uh, nobody's gonna be able to put as much pressure on me than the amount that I put on myself because
Mm-hmm.
I try to be a perfectionist, and even though perfect doesn't exist, it doesn't matter. There still might be a small little chance that perfection does exist, and I'm always after that, as mental as that sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm always trying to look good and do the technique correctly, and be always in position and well balanced. And then, of course, winning. Winning is that's what this is about. You have to win. And even when you lose, yeah, that's difficult to deal with. But those are some of the things that I put on myself in order to before the fight, in order to perform at my best.
So you would consider yourself outcome oriented when it comes to fighting?
What does that mean?
What I mean is like uh, a lot of people have, well, people hung around with like in Kopangan. Most of them went into the fight and were like, oh, it doesn't matter if I win or lose. And I always find it like a weird mentality because obviously you care. Like if you lose, you're gonna be devastated, and if you win, you're gonna be on top of the world for like X amount of time. I,
Right.
and when I said before my last fight, like I really want to win this fight, like that's my goal. They were like, well, don't put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I think some people just fight just to survive. They're happy with just surviving. They don't really care if they win or lose. They just want to survive and get through the event, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's okay. Maybe if you're just like starting out and you're just trying to figure things out for yourself, and you're just trying to gain experience, maybe that would be okay. That type of mentality. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to be at like the best, the highest level that you can be, and the best that you can be personally, then you have to be uh, you have to be always willing to win and do whatever it takes to win too.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that people who are not in the mentality of wanting to win all the time would kind of like give up earlier than they actually can? I mean,
100%. Yeah, I
okay.
think so. Yeah.
So would you say that having heart is like both mental and physical?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because I've been in situations where I would get hit in the liver, and
Mm-hmm.
this is like almost every fight that I'm in. I'm taking like a body shot to the liver,
Mm-hmm.
and that's mental and it's physical. It's
Mm-hmm.
physical because of your actual organ being hurt. You can't breathe, but it's mental because you're trying to keep yourself calm and be in control of yourself and not to like panic and then just go down and take an 8 count because that's the easy
Mm-hmm.
thing to do. Anybody can do that. It's either that or just say fuck it, I'm just gonna quit. That's the easy thing to do, but you have to be willing to mentally fight through that as well. And then when you do, I mean, you just raise your barrier of being able to take on that physical pain and mental pain. So now you're going to be even better the next time. So then when it happens again, for me now when I take a liver shot, it is what it is. It's whatever for me. I mean, yes, I'm in pain and I can't breathe for like 15 seconds, but I've learned to deal with that. I've done it so many times that, I'm to the point where I will never let any another man put me down with like a body shot like that. It's never gonna happen. I'm never gonna allow that myself to go down like that.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because obviously with the rise of social media, there are a lot of videos out there of people training that would be rather harmful. For example, you see a lot of people now conditioning their bodies and their legs by just basically beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah,
What is your view on that?
yeah. I don't think me personally, I don't think you can condition your body in that way. I think maybe up to a point, but it's not to a point where it's gonna actually help you and make you not feel any pain. There's always gonna be pain. You're you're going in a fight and you're taking leg shots and body shots. There's always gonna be pain. No way you can go around that. So doing those like conditioning drills where you're like hitting the low kicks and stuff like that, or taking body shots to the abdomen, or liver shots or whatever other. And let's not even talk about the head part.
Mm.
Getting hit into the head and conditioning your brain in that way is just ridiculous. But
Yeah.
doing the body conditioning, I don't think that's necessary. It's just about for me is about conditioning your eye and learning to see those hits coming, and that's why sparring is so necessary, and sparring with different types of styles is so necessary, because then you start seeing many different movement patterns, and the more patterns you start recognizing and seeing, the easier it is going to be for you to be able to react to those patterns in a correct way. So if you see a guy dipping down and throwing a body shot, now you know, okay, I have to get that hand down so he doesn't hit me in the liver. So that's a better conditioning method for me, to condition your eyesight, than actually trying to condition your liver, which is, to me, is not going to happen. Or even your leg muscles. You can't condition that stuff. I think it's good just to understand how that pain feels. Like, let's say you
Mm-hmm.
take like a leg kick or something like that, and you want to know how that pain is going to feel, so you can maybe work up your threshold of pain. I
Mm-hmm.
guess I can recommend doing that just maybe once, twice in your lifetime, just to see how that feels. So then maybe in a fight, when it happens, then you'll understand how that happens. But actually, you know what? Let's talk about this. I just heard Conor McGregor. He was talking about those, like the calf kicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, leg kicks. And
Yeah.
he said that this is the first time he's ever experienced that. This is a
Uh-huh.
professional fighter, right? With
Yes.
many fights behind him, and he's just now experienced what a low kick feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Experience is the best way to learn. I mean, there's no better way to learn than going through the actual task. And so, had he gone through those, had he had more of those fights, and more of those styles of fights where he was taking low kicks, he would understand that type of not just the pain. I mean, it's very difficult to deal with a leg kick, but I'm saying maybe he would have worked more on blocking kicks, and realizing
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing how that movement looks when that low kick is coming to his thigh. So this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about.
In regards to McGregor, with the calf kicks, I saw an interesting quote, and it's from Firas, and I had the same opinion. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I I had the feeling that Connor kind of gave up in the fight. Like, yeah, sure, the leg kicks hurt, but there was like a point where I felt that he broke because he couldn't take Dustin out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak on his behalf, and I didn't
Yeah.
watch the fight. I just saw the
Okay.
the ending part when he got
Hmm.
TKO or knocked out, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, maybe he did. Who knows? And for me, my mentality is, all I can speak is about myself, and my mentality is, if you're not shutting me off completely with a knockout
Hmm.
punch, I'm not quitting. It's never gonna happen. I'm always gonna continue coming back forward, and I'm gonna continue putting pressure on, and that's the way it is. That's how my mentality is. So that's all I can speak for from my side. Me being like tired or something like that is not gonna happen. That's when the heart kicks in.
Hmm.
That mentality of how strong is your heart, and 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 all that means is, are you willing to yield to another man or not? And I'm not willing to yield unless, like I said, you turn me off, my computer off. If you knock me out, then yeah, of course, then I'm asleep. There's nothing I can do. But if you don't do that, and I'm still able to think, and I can still see clearly, then I'm fighting, and I'm gonna continue fighting on.
In regards to, well, the McGregor fight, and I mean in general, would a part of that also be that, like, MMA is fairly a new sport and it's kind of still developing? Do you
Mhm.
think that some people kind of miss out on the basics because there is so much to learn in that sport?
Yeah, I don't think it's because it's still developing. I think it's already developed, but
Okay.
it's 100% the fact that they have so many different things that they have to do. They have to worry about wrestling, they have to worry about jujitsu, boxing, and then Muay Thai or kickboxing, whatever they supplement as far as that
Hmm.
goes. And so there's so many aspects that they have to do. They have to learn like four different sports, and they have to perfect those sports. But you can never be able to perfect those sports,
Hmm.
because you don't have enough time to do that. Whereas, if you're a boxer and you start, uh, training at just boxing, or Muay Thai or whatever the case may be, kickboxing, and you do that from an early age, then you can actually perfect that,
Hmm.
or get close to perfection. I know we spoke about that in the beginning. So yeah, they're never gonna be able to have like, I mean, yeah, of course, there are fighters who are very well rounded, but it's going to be very difficult to get all those together. There's always going to be something that's going to be missing, or that you're not going to have enough experience with.
And also in regards of MMA, I don't know if you heard Max Holloway's quote about sparring.
Yeah, he said that he stopped sparring.
Yeah,
Yeah, was that he stopped sparring like completely, or just hard sparring?
also I've seen different takes on it. So
Yeah.
some people say he stopped completely, and other people say he started more Thai style sparring.
Yeah, I think Thai style is definitely going to be beneficial because you still need that, like, uh uh you need to learn that distance, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't like spar at all, and you just go into a fight, there's definitely going to be a different feeling about it because you haven't felt that distance, even though you do pad work and the distance
Mm-hmm.
is there, but the distance when you're fighting is going to be completely different than it is when you do pad work. So I think you still need to spar. And I think what he's doing, if he is doing like, the technical Thai style sparring, then yeah, that's like much smarter than doing the hard sparring. I mean, I don't really hard spar either.
Okay.
Sometimes things get out of hand and you
Mm-hmm.
can't really help it, and that's just the nature of the sport. But I try not to hard spar. Now in PK Saenchai, when we box, just do boxing, we kind of go, yeah, we go a little harder. But then again, we're using 18-ounce gloves, so that takes away some of the shot, and it makes your hands heavier, so it's more difficult for you to develop that power and speed when you're hitting your partner.
Mm. Now talking about PK, thanks to you, I joined the PK Saenchai as well. Like, how did you end up in PK?
Well, for me is yeah, I'm glad that things are going well there for you. For me, I just needed to find the gym that had the highest amount of fighters that were at my weight and that were at an elite level. The most amount of fighters that were at an elite level. And so there was a couple of different options for me, but I think PK Senchai was the best because it's still there wasn't too many foreigners at the time, and not saying that a gym that has foreigners is going to be bad. Senchai actually manages to still keep the Thai fighters at a very high level, no matter if there are foreigners or not. So that's what I like, and that's the type of gym that you want to go to. And so, I was one of the first foreigners there, and for me, it's a great experience working with all those guys, and it's stadium style training and stadium style fighting that we do at PK Saenchai. So that's exactly what I'm after.
That's something that I wanted to get into because I've been in a couple of gyms in Thailand, but like the experience that I have in PK is different for me than in all the other gyms. And for me, it's in a good way. But when I said that the training was very different, I meant like you come in, you do your run, you do your pads, but after that, you're kind of free to do what you want. There's a lot of freedom. Like you have the clinch, you can clinch, you can spar, you can drill. I've never
Yeah.
seen that in another gym. Is that something that attracted you as well?
That say that again. Is that something that what?
That attracted you as well to the gym?
No. I think that that's basically how the my other gym was as well, Eminent
Oh,
Air.
okay.
Trained that. And they also had elite level fighters at the time also, and so it was kind of the same thing. You
Okay.
were just expected to do the work. Nobody's there to baby you.
Mm.
So yeah, it's I mean that's part of the discipline part. You know, as a fighter, you have to stay disciplined, and you have to, you know, on the days that you don't want to train, you still have to make yourself and go through that training.
In regards to the training aspect, I assume when you're in good conditioning, you train twice a day, 6 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the people that have never been in Thailand or want to come to Thailand, like what are some ways for you to make sure that you recover optimally?
Um, I think drinking water and enough water is probably the most important aspect, because Thailand is very hot climate,
Mm.
and so if you don't drink enough water, then you're gonna get yourself in trouble, and that's like the best aspect of performing at a high level is being hydrated. So that's one of the ways, and then also getting enough rest, making sure you're sleeping well at night, going to bed early, because you know we have to wake up at 6 a.m. To go for the runs. So you have to make sure you're constantly recovering and sleeping, and then in between the training sessions, you have to make sure you sleep as well. After your morning session, you go eat, go back to your room, sleep, rest, and then wake up and you do it all over again.
How do you find the balance between your graphic design or logo designs and your training? Because obviously having something on the site takes away some energy as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, fighting is always coming number one, and
Mm.
so if I do have like a fight coming up, then I'm not going to take on any clients and jobs to do the designs, because I know I'm going to need more rest. But if, let's say, there's no fight coming up, then maybe I don't have to sleep in between the sessions, and I can get my work done there, because I know I'm not going to be training as hard or doing as many rounds on pads as I normally would. So that's how I keep the balance. But you know, you just have to figure out what's going to be the most important job that you're doing. For me, it's always been fighting, and
Mm.
so that comes first. So you know, that pretty much gives me my answer right there.
Mm. How were you ever a pro fighter when you still had a regular job?
Yeah, I was, and that
Okay,
was,
sorry.
yeah, that was very difficult.
Yeah. So, like for example, I'm teaching here in Bangkok because obviously I need to make money,
Yeah.
and there are probably a lot of other people who have something on the side as well. What kind of advice would you give to those people?
I I don't really
It's pretty
have
hard.
much. Yeah, that was just difficult. It's either you're gonna do it or not do it. You know,
Yeah.
that for me, I had to work 9 to 5 job, so I would do 9 to 5, and then I would go directly from the gym, and it would be like 5 to 9. So I was
Mm.
out the whole day just training, because I couldn't get my morning session in.
Yeah.
So I had to get all this both sessions in at night. So that's why, you know, it was like 5 to 9.
Mm. So when I hear you talk about the fact that you had a job and put in so much time after your job, one would assume that you actually love what you're doing. But the quote, "If you love what you do, you will be good at it," is something you disagree with.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily true. You know, I hear some people say that, um, you know, if you don't love training or something like that, then you're not doing it right. But I'm gonna go completely against that and say, if you love training, then I don't think you're doing it right, because I hate to train, especially when it comes to a fight. I don't like
Mm.
training at all. I like to fight. That's it.
Mm.
That's the only thing that I care about, fighting. Training for me is just what's necessary for me to be able to fight correctly and to be able to perform correctly. But I don't want to train. I don't want to put myself. I don't want to put my subject my body in that position where, you know, my heart rate is like jumping at 90%, 100%, and now I can't breathe right, and I'm getting tired, and taking all those kicks and punishment and stuff like that. That's not what I
Mm,
want to do. I want to just be able to press a button and then I get in shape and then I go fight. But that's not reality. So I have to
mm,
train.
yeah.
I'm not saying that I always hate training, but when I'm training for a fight, it's like the worst thing for me. I can't stand it. The best training is when you just go to the gym and you're just, you don't have to worry about a fight and you're just, training just to stay in shape. That's good because then you don't have to work as hard. But when you have a fight coming up, then you have to, like I was saying before, you have to be disciplined, and you have to push yourself to the limit almost on a daily basis, and that's very difficult to do. And so I don't like doing that at all. Um, but with that being said, it's just necessary for you to do in order to perform well in the fight.
How much different are the morning sessions at PK when you have a fight coming up? Because like I've never done the morning session so far because obviously I have to go to work.
If you have a fight coming up, then about 12 9 to 12 days before, then you're doing pad work as well in the morning, and you do
Okay.
generally about 3 rounds. So we do our run, come back, do the bag work, and then you get called to do the pads as well, and then sometimes you spar also. So that's basically the only difference. You just end up doing pad work after your run as well.
Mm. Do you take a Western approach towards the fight or more like the Thai approach? What I mean by that is like in the West, most fighters a week before the fight they kind of taper down. Like for example, one session a week they stop the runs. But what I've noticed with the Thais is that they go hard like until 2 3 days before the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, mine is, the Thai way, and it's
Mm,
always been like that. I always try to push myself as much as possible because that mentality of the more you do, the better you're gonna perform is very difficult to break.
mm-hmm.
And as much as I want to break that, I can't because then I'm not gonna be as confident as I am mentally when I push myself 100%. So yeah, I go as hard as I can until the end of until that last day, which is about 3 days when you start doing your weight cut. That's basically your rest time, and it's almost like a perfect system because then when you're cutting the water weight and you're doing your runs, it's at a very low stress level, so
Mm-hmm.
you're almost using that as a recovery process, for your body
Oh, okay.
because at that lower heart rate, you're actually helping your body recover. All that body is just circulating. You're not stressing your body as much as you do when your heart rate is at like 90% of your work rate.
So do you how much weight do you cut, if I may ask?
Up until about 8, I think maybe I've done 10 pounds of water weight here in Thailand. And here in
Okay.
Thailand, obviously, it's much more different than back home. So you have to be a lot more strategic when you do the water weight cuts. And that's about the general amount, anywhere from like 6 to 10 pounds. So that's like 3 to 5 kilograms of water,
Okay.
and the Thais do the same thing. So in Thailand, we especially at the gyms, at the stadium level, you weigh in the morning and then you fight in the evening. So it's day of weigh-in of the fight. So you have to
Mm.
be very careful with how much water weight you do lose. But for me, it's generally easy to lose the water weight, because
Mm.
I think I guess I carry a lot of water weight, and it's for me I just sweat a lot when I go on my runs, so it's not that difficult.
Do you take a different approach to weight cutting when you weigh in the day before? Like, would you cut more weight or do you
No, it's still the same. It's just
still the same?
that I do everything in one shot when it's
Okay.
24 hours before, then I just go on. I would say about up to 3 hours to lose about 10 pounds of water weight.
Okay. So
But
do you
you can't
think?
do that. You can't do that method when you're fighting here in Thailand. You have to do about 3 days before because if
Mm,
you lost all that weight beforehand, then you wouldn't perform as well
oh yeah, it's
on
gonna
the
be
fight.
depleted.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you had a good run in the stadiums here so far. What is your plan when it comes to fighting? Will you take up some warm-up fights first here, for example, in what's the name, Super Champ or Max Muay Thai, or somewhere around? Or
No, that's not what I came here for. I just came here to fight at Lumpini Stadium and that's it. If they at the gym, if the promoters at the gym, they give me a warm-up fight, then that's what it is. If they don't, that's also what it is. I don't care. For me, I'm just here trying to get my name recognized in the stadiums and that's it.
now you're also one of the olders at the camp, if I may say it like that. Do you sometimes take the foreigners like me under your arm for to teach certain things?
No, it's
No.
only
Okay.
if somebody asks me a question, I'll answer that for them. But I was never a person that wanted to be somebody's mentor. If somebody asked me to be their mentor, sure, I'll help them out as much as I can. But that's not the way I lead. For
Mm,
me, a leader is a person who just does something that themselves, and whoever wants to follow they follow, whoever doesn't, then that's even better for me because
mm,
the job is going to get done no matter what, if I have people behind me helping me or if it's just me. The job gets done no matter what, and that's how I lead. That's how I've led my whole life. That's how I learned from just watching my father. He was a leader just by doing things himself, and that's exactly how I take the same approach. And so I never had a mentor. uh, I never needed a mentor. Like I said, for me the job was going to get done no matter what I was doing, and that was that. So whoever wants help, I help them out, and that's it.
now you had your career is you had a pretty long career, although you started maybe pretty late. Well,
Yeah.
on paper, how did you find the perfect balance when it comes to the amounts of fight you have in a certain amount of time?
Yeah, it was difficult. I had to figure out ways to almost like cheat. And what I mean by that is I was just very focused and I studied how the Thais fought at the highest level, and I basically just copied those things. The stuff that I'm talking about is observing their timing, their fakes and their feints. And that's what I mean by cheating. I just came up with like a system for myself,
Hmm.
and that's what helped me out. And this is basically what I teach at my seminars as well. So this system is what helped me fight at a high level with a low level amount of experience.
Mm. So you didn't take the approach where you would fight, for example, 3 times in 1 week, and because sometimes I have the feeling that the Thai say the only way you can learn is how to fight, and I agree. But and especially in the beginning when they're younger, they fight quite often.
Yeah. No, I wanted to take that approach, but being in America, it's impossible to get 3 fights in a month. I mean,
Yeah.
it's impossible to get 3 fights in 3 months sometimes. And then when I came here to Thailand, I was able to fight about once a month. So yeah, I mean that was okay. Once a month is still good enough experience for you. Um, but yeah, if you have the access to do that type of style of fighting, then yeah, definitely I would recommend that, and I would probably be much better than I am now if I was able to get them that many fights. under my belt, but I wasn't, so I had to deal with whatever situation I was dealt with.
You mentioned that you were doing seminars and something. I think you mentioned this on Don Heatrick's podcast, but I can't remember where I heard it. But you said that it was not your idea to do seminars, but I think your coach, if I recall correctly, and that you were initially not really a fan of the idea because that was just after your fight against Saenchai, right?
Yeah. It wasn't after my. It was before
Oh,
my
okay.
Saenchai, but the point was is like this is after I quit my job and I went to Thailand for a long period of time first, and then I came back. So now it's like fighting is my career. I have to figure out how to make money. So my coach was telling me you should just do seminars and start teaching private sessions. And I'm already well into my professional career, But even with me being in my professional career, my mentality is like, who the fuck am I to be able to
Hmm.
pass on and teach people what I do, even though I fought a lot of ties up until that point.
Hmm.
And so for me it was very weird for me to go into that type of job and start teaching people, but I had to make money, and so people did seek me out for personal training and seminars, and I realized, okay, maybe I can be some kind of a positive benefit to somebody, and that's why I started systemizing all these things the way what they helped me from amateur and even as an early professional fighter, how I was able to go about fighting against guys that had like 200, 300 fights more than I did. So yeah, now for me it's just part of my job, teaching seminars and doing the personal training, because now I see that I am benefiting other people, and most of the coaches, actually all of the coaches that I've taught for, have told me that one of my seminars are some of the best ones that they've ever had because of the way I'm explaining these things to the students.
You said that it benefits others. Do you also think that it benefited yourself? Because if you have to break down your own system, I assume that you got a better understanding of your own style, or
Yeah, 100%. Once I started doing a lot of private personal training, that
Mhm.
like that brought up my skill level even higher, because then I started asking myself questions. Am I even doing this when I'm fighting? It's easy
Mhm.
when you tell somebody, but then when you question yourself and you ask yourself, are you even doing this? Then, it puts a different, you start thinking about it differently. So yeah, 100%. Personal training helped me out, and then teaching at the seminars have helped me out. So it's constantly been stimulating my mind and what I'm thinking about as far as the fighting goes. It's constantly on. So figure out how to teach this better, or how I can do this myself better in or something like that, or in a fight.
has a pretty interesting take because some people find it rather difficult to combine the coaching part and the fighting part. Like how did you get on with that in the beginning?
For me, it wasn't difficult at all. I'm a good fighter, and then I just wanted to be a good teacher as well.
Mm.
And so I basically just detail everything that I need to teach. And I think that's why these coaches, where I go and do these seminars at, this is why I think they appreciate my teaching style, because it's very detailed, but it's also simple. It's simple enough for anybody to understand and learn, and that's the whole point. I want guys at an amateur level to understand this, uh, so they can pretty much implement what I've implemented in my career as an amateur.
We've almost stopped an hour right now. First of all, I want to thank you for your time. Where can people
Of
find
course,
you?
that's all I got right now. What did you say? Where can they find me?
Yeah, where can they find you? How can they get in contact with you?
They can check out my website, topicfight.com. All my social media is there, which is all at Topic Fight, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then if they have any questions, they can just either message me on Instagram or send me an email.
Mm. All right. Thank you so much for your, well, abundance of time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.